Hi, I'm Dre, the host and founder of the Draegan Network. Welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. For the month of October, we're talking about all things organizational change management. For today's video, I want to summarize KOTTER'S 8-step change model. But before I get going, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss future posts if you haven't done that already. All right, let's jump right in. Dr. John Kotter first introduced us to the concepts of his change model in an article that he published for the 1995 May-June issue of Harvard Business Review, and that article was titled Leading Change, Why Transformation Efforts Fail. I'll link to it below. In this, he focused on really what the most common errors were for organizations that failed in their transformational change efforts. And he further refined the framework around his 8-step change model and published it in the book Leading Change in 1996. So let's go ahead and jump into what those 8 steps are. So the first step is to create a sense of urgency. So without a sense of urgency, people aren't very motivated to change. And having a sense of urgency behind things is something that Dr. Kotter felt was very important. So you're going to start to focus your messaging, your conversation, and everything about the change on not only the impact it's going to have and why it needs to be done, but why it needs to be done now. Why can it not wait till later? So that sense of urgency is where you're going to start everything. Once you've done that, you want to go on to step number 2, which is to build a guiding coalition. So Dr. Kotter found that in organizations where they didn't have enough people sort of grouped together to champion or move forward that change, those tended to fail more frequently. So you need to start putting the team together that's going to work on this whole transformation effort. Step number 3 is to form strategic vision and initiatives. This is really where you're going to frame what that end state looks like and identify who the individuals are that are going to be impacted by the change, as well as the individuals that are going to be responsible for executing it. For big transformational changes, you need to make sure that the vision is broken down into appropriate smaller initiatives so that you're not confusing people along the way with your messaging. Step number 4 in the 8-step model is to enlist a volunteer army. So this army, it's important for them to be volunteers and not to be forced into participating in the change in order to keep the momentum and keep the positive energy around everything. So people who are told to participate don't have the same level of commitment or passion. So it's really important that you've got enough people who are wanting to champion this change forward. And the more people, the better. You can never have too many of them, but you do want the right people. You want them to have a positive attitude about change and make sure that they're able to clearly communicate with their peers. So the 5th step in the 8-step process is to enable action by removing barriers. So throughout an entire transformational effort, you're likely to come across some barriers, whether they be resource barriers, cost barriers, time barriers, or even negative stakeholder attitudes, bureaucracy, and complacency. So you want to make sure that as the change is progressing, you're knocking down these barriers as quickly as you can. And this is going to be a group effort to do that. Step number 6 is to generate short-term wins. In order to keep the positivity up and to keep the sense of urgency in moving forward and that volunteer army really energized, you want to make sure that you can generate some short-term wins along the way so people can see that there's progression. If you're just going from step A to step Z and there's nothing in the middle, they can tend to lose their motivation. So generating short-term wins is a good way to keep that change moving. So step number 7 is to sustain this acceleration. So there are a lot of instances in companies that Dr. Kotter observed where the change eventually failed because they declared victory too soon. So you don't want to claim the change to have been the success and still have a portion of the change left to accomplish. So sustaining acceleration essentially means not only keep going with the change and keep going with those small wins, but keep going at a relentless pace. And that relentless term is something that is used a few times. The 8th and final step in this model is to institute change. Change needs to be anchored in the corporate culture of an organization in order for it to stick. Even if you make it all the way through the first 7 steps and you get to the end, if it isn't ingrained in corporate culture, it's very easy for people to fall back to the old way of doing things. So institutionalizing change and continuing to check in and make sure that there's messaging and conversation and checkpoints and wins that are happening will help you keep that change successful over the long term. So that is KOTTER'S 8-step change model. Hopefully you can take some of the information in today's video and apply it to some of the tasks and projects that you're working on in your own organization. Thanks for watching, and again, be sure to post in the comments letting me know if you have any questions about the video, and hit that subscribe button before you go so you're notified of the next video that will be posted. Have a great day.